The words echoed in Alex's mind like an old memory he couldn't let go of. He remembered the last time he saw Emma before she moved away. They had sat together under the stars, talking about dreams, fears, and the future. She had leaned close to him, her voice soft but steady, and said those words. At the time, he had laughed nervously, not knowing what she meant. Now, months later, he replayed that moment again and again, hoping to understand. Life without Emma felt empty. The streets looked the same, the sky was the same, but everything felt duller. He walked past the park where they used to meet, and the bench stood silent, waiting. He scrolled through his messages, staring at their old conversations, but he never knew what to type now. Every word felt too heavy or too small. The distance between them wasn't just miles, it was silence. Emma had moved to another city for her studies, chasing her goals. Alex was proud of her, but deep inside, he felt left behind. He wanted to tell her he missed her, but he was afraid of sounding weak or needy. He wanted to call, but his fingers froze on the phone. He felt like a ship drifting in space, the one anchor that kept him steady now far beyond reach. Still, humans had a strange way of carrying hope, even in loneliness. Alex thought about that often. Maybe that was what Emma had meant. Maybe being ready wasn't about being perfect or knowing all the answers. Maybe it was about facing the silence, the distance, and still choosing to keep going. One evening, Alex went for a walk. The air was cool, the sky painted with the last colors of sunset. He stopped by the old bookstore they had visited many times. The smell of paper and ink filled him with both comfort and longing. He picked up a journal, its cover plain and simple, and decided he would start writing. If he couldn't speak the words, maybe he could write them. The first page was shaky. His hand trembled, unsure of what to say. But slowly words began to pour out. Memories, questions, hopes. He wrote about the stars they used to watch, about the silly jokes that only they understood, and about how empty the days felt now. He also wrote about courage, about wanting to be strong even when he felt weak. Over time, writing gave him strength. Each page was a small victory, a way to bridge the gap. It didn't erase the distance, but it gave him a voice. He realized that humans had always done this, built bridges across time, space, and silence. That was part of what made them special. 1. Night after weeks of writing, Alex took a deep breath and sent Emma a message. Not long, not perfect, just simple. I miss our talks, I hope you're doing okay. He didn't expect an answer right away, but the act itself felt like stepping forward, like planting a flag in the unknown. He closed his eyes and remembered her words again. You're ready now. Maybe, he thought. She had always believed in his ability to face the hard moments even if he didn't. Maybe being human meant carrying sadness and hope together, never letting one erase the other. And so, as the night grew quiet and the stars filled the sky, Alex held on to that memory. The future was uncertain, but his heart whispered that hope could travel any distance. The message Alex sent to Emma sat on his phone screen like a fragile seed. He kept checking it every few minutes, waiting for a reply that never came. Hours passed. Then a day. Then 2. Each time his phone buzzed, his heart jumped, but it was only a news alert or a random notification. Still, Alex didn't regret sending it. For the first time in months he had tried. He had reached across the silence. At night he opened his new journal again. The words came easier now. He wrote about his fear of being forgotten, about the way the world felt smaller without her voice, about how memories sometimes hurt more than silence. But in between those heavy thoughts, he also wrote about courage. He wrote that humans had always been wanderers, explorers, and survivors. Distance had never truly broken them before. People had crossed oceans, deserts, and even space itself, all because of connection. Maybe, he thought, what he felt now was just another kind of distance to overcome. One evening, Alex went back to the park bench where he and Emma had once sat under the stars. He looked up at the night sky, the same sky she might be seeing in her new city. The thought comforted him. Even though miles stretched between them, the stars were still shared. That, in its own way, was a connection. He whispered softly, as if she could hear, "I'm trying." The next morning, Alex finally saw a new message. His heart raced as he unlocked his phone. It was from Emma. "Hey, I miss our talks too. Sorry I've been busy. Things are overwhelming here." His chest felt lighter, as if a window had opened after a long winter. She hadn't forgotten. She still cared. Her words were short, but they carried warmth. Alex typed, back, slowly, carefully. "I understand. I just wanted you to know you're still important to me." After sending it, he smiled for the first time in weeks. But then doubt crept in. Would this small exchange fade away again? Would silence return? He shook his head, refusing to let fear win. He remembered the journal, the stars, and Emma's words. "You're ready now." Ready for what? He asked himself again. Maybe ready to carry both the pain of distance and the hope of connection. Ready to act instead of waiting. The following days, Alex made small changes. He started sending Emma pictures of the park, of the bookstore, of the sky at sunset. Not every day, just sometimes. He didn't ask for much in return, but he wanted her to know that pieces of their world still remained. Emma replied now and then, sometimes with a smiley face, sometimes with a short memory. "That's the bench where we almost fell asleep watching the stars." Or, "I miss that little shop, the smell of books." The replies weren't constant, but they were enough. Enough to remind Alex that distance couldn't erase what they had. One night, while writing in his journal, Alex realized something. Humans always reached for each other, even when it was hard. That was what made them different. They didn't give up just because something was far away. They built bridges, through letters, songs, stories, and now through screens. Even across planets someday, they would still find a way. He looked at his phone again, reading Emma's latest message. "Things are tough here, but knowing you're still there helps." Alex whispered to himself, maybe that's what she meant. Being ready doesn't mean having answers. It means being there. In that moment, he felt stronger, not because the distance had disappeared, but because he chose to hold on to hope. The sadness still lingered. There were nights when he missed her voice so much it hurt. But hope stood beside the sadness, balancing it. He realized humans were built to carry both, and carrying both was its own kind of strength. One evening, as Alex walked home under the stars, he smiled at the thought that maybe Emma was walking under the same sky too. Even if they were apart, the universe had given them something in common, something unbreakable. He held that thought close. The days turned into weeks, and Alex noticed something about himself. He no longer woke up each morning drowning in silence. Emma's few short replies had given him a small anchor. He still felt distant from her, but now there was a thread connecting them, thin, yet strong. But some nights, the sadness came back, heavier. He would stare at the empty chair in his room, remembering the evenings when Emma had sat there laughing at his clumsy jokes. He missed her presence, the way her voice made the air feel brighter, the way her ideas made him see the world differently. One Saturday evening, he sat at his desk, journal open, pen in hand. He wrote, "I don't know how to be close to someone who is far away, but maybe that's part of being human, finding a way when none seems clear." He tapped the pen against the page. Humans had always been like that, he thought. They had stood in deserts, crossed seas, sent voices through wires and messages through the air. Even now, across miles of land, he and Emma could still reach for each other. That thought gave him strength. Later that night, Alex decided to record a short voice message for Emma. His hands trembled as he held the phone. What if she didn't listen? What if it sounded foolish? But he remembered her words again. "You're ready now." So he pressed record and spoke softly. "Hey, Emma. I know things must be busy for you. I just wanted you to hear my voice. I miss you. I hope you're eating well and taking care of yourself. Don't worry about replying right away, just know I'm here. He almost deleted it out of nervousness, but then he hit send. His chest felt tight, but also lighter, as if he had released something he had been holding for too long. The next day passed without a reply, then another. Alex tried not to check his phone every few minutes, but it was hard. Still, he kept busy, writing in his journal, going for walks, visiting the bookstore, looking up at the night sky. Each time he saw the stars, he whispered to himself, she might be looking too. Finally, on the third evening, a message arrived. It wasn't a text, it was a voice message. His hands shook as he played it. Hey, Alex. Thank you for sending that. I didn't realize how much I needed to hear your voice. Things are really stressful here, but your message made me feel less alone. I miss you too. Her words filled the room with warmth. Alex closed his eyes, letting her voice wrap around him like a blanket. It wasn't the same as being together, but it was something real, something alive. For the first time in months, he laughed softly to himself. It amazed him how a simple message could bridge the distance. Humans, he thought, had always found ways to turn absence into presence. That was their strength. The following week, Alex and Emma began exchanging short voice messages more often. Sometimes it was just a hello. Sometimes it was a memory. Sometimes it was silly. Emma once sent him the sound of her cat knocking things over, and he sent back his laugh. Each message reminded him that distance wasn't the end. It was just a challenge, and challenges could be faced. One night, while walking home under the stars, Alex thought deeply about what being ready might mean. Maybe Emma had seen something in him back then. Maybe she had believed he would find the strength to carry both loneliness and hope, and to keep reaching no matter what. That thought made his steps lighter. At home, he wrote in his journal, "Humans, don't let silence win. We carry light across the distance even if it's only a spark." The sadness was still there. It always would be. But now it lived beside hope, not in place of it. And hope was stronger. As he lay in bed that night listening to the quiet hum of the world outside, Alex whispered to himself, maybe I really am ready now, even if I don't fully understand it yet. He smiled faintly, holding on to both the ache of distance and the beauty of connection. Because deep down he knew this was what being human was about, never giving up, even when the road ahead was uncertain. And as sleep finally took him, he dreamed of the stars, shining above him and Emma, the same lights across two different skies binding them together. The routine of sending voice messages became a quiet rhythm in Alex's life. He didn't hear from Emma every day, but often enough to keep the thread between them alive. Each time her voice filled his room, it reminded him that even across the miles they were still connected. Still, there were moments when the distance felt heavier than ever. One evening, after a long day, Alex sat at his desk staring at his phone. Emma hadn't replied to his last message yet, and doubts crept into his mind. What if she was too busy for him? What if she was slowly moving on, leaving their bond behind? He picked up his journal, the one that had become his secret companion. He wrote, I don't want to lose her, but I also don't want to hold her back. Humans always fear losing the people they love, yet we keep trying because connection is worth the risk. His pen stopped and he stared at those words. Maybe this was what humanity was really about, risking heartbreak just to hold on to hope. The next weekend, Alex went for a walk in the park. The trees were turning golden, their leaves drifting down like pieces of time. He sat on the bench, where he and Emma had once spent so many hours. Closing his eyes, he tried to imagine her beside him, laughing, her hair brushing against the wind. He whispered softly, I still miss you. That night, as if the universe had listened, a message arrived from Emma. Sorry I've been quiet, Alex. Things got really busy here. But I've been listening to your messages and they help more than you know. It feels like you're still here with me. Alex felt his chest loosen. He replayed her message again and again, holding on to her voice. Then he recorded one in return. It's okay, Emma. I don't mind waiting. I just want you to know you're not alone. No matter how far you go, I'll still be here." When he pressed send, he realized those words weren't just for her. They were for himself, too. Saying them reminded him of his own strength. Over the next few weeks, Alex found ways to keep their bond alive. He started sending Emma little stories about his days. He told her about the old man he saw feeding pigeons in the park, about the girl in the bookstore who always dropped the same pile of books, and about the way the sky turned orange before rain. He noticed she liked these small stories because she replied more often to them. "Your stories make me feel like I'm back there," she said once. "It's like you're painting the world for me." That made Alex smile. He realized that, even though he couldn't bring her back, he could still bring pieces of home to her. That was something humans had always done, share their worlds through stories, across time, across distance, across silence. But there were still hard nights. Sometimes Emma didn't reply for days, and the silence stretched long and heavy. Those nights, Alex walked outside and looked at the stars. They reminded him of the night Emma had first whispered those words. "You're ready now." He still didn't fully understand them, but the memory gave him comfort. One night, while writing in his journal, Alex paused and stared at the page. "Being human," he wrote slowly, "means living with unanswered questions. But it also means hoping anyway." He thought about all the people in history who had written letters without knowing if they'd be read, or sent messages across seas not knowing if they'd arrive. They hadn't stopped trying, and neither would he. Weeks later, Emma surprised him. She sent a long voice message. "Alec, I've been thinking a lot. I know I haven't always replied quickly, and I'm sorry, it's just, life here feels overwhelming. But your words, your stories, they remind me that I'm not alone. You don't realize it, but you give me strength. I think that's what I meant back then when I said you're ready. I saw this in you, the ability to carry hope even when things are hard." Alex's eyes filled with tears as he listened. For months he had wondered about that moment, those words. And now, finally, he understood a little more. It wasn't about being perfect or knowing what to do. It was about not giving up, about being human in the face of distance, silence, and fear. He sat quietly for a long time, holding her words close. Then, with a deep breath, he whispered to himself, "Maybe I really was ready, even back then. I just didn't know it." That night, the stars shone brighter than usual. Alex wrote one more line in his journal before going to sleep. "Hope can cross any distance, and as long as I carry it, I'm never truly alone." The night after hearing Emma's long message, Alex could hardly sleep. Her words echoed in his mind. "That's what I meant when I said you're ready. I saw this in you, the ability to carry hope, even when things are hard." For so long, those words had been a mystery, a shadow he couldn't grasp. Now they were beginning to shine with meaning. She hadn't been talking about strength of the body or even cleverness of the mind. She had been talking about his heart, the quiet, stubborn human heart that refused to give up, even when distance made everything feel impossible. The next morning, Alex sat by his window, watching the pale light spread across the sky. He opened his journal and wrote, "She believed in me before I believed in myself. Maybe being ready doesn't mean having no fear. Maybe it means choosing hope." Anyway, still, sadness lingered. Even with Emma's messages, the distance between them was real. He couldn't see her smile. He couldn't hear her laugh in the air around him. He couldn't sit beside her on the park bench or share a book at the shop. Sometimes he felt like he was living in two worlds, one filled with memories and one filled with longing. But humans were builders, he reminded himself. Builders of bridges, of stories, of connections. If one path was gone, another could be made. That afternoon, Alex decided to try something different. He picked up a small package from the bookstore, stationery, envelopes, and stamps. In an age of screens and instant messages, he wanted to send Emma something slower, something she could hold in her hands. He sat at his desk and began to write a letter. His handwriting was uneven at first, but soon the words flowed. Dear Emma, I know we send messages on our phones, but I wanted to try this too. I thought maybe a letter could carry a piece of home to you. The world here feels the same, but also empty without you. The park is quiet and the bookstore smells like dust and paper just like before. I go there sometimes to imagine you walking beside me. I miss that, but I want you to know I'm proud of you. Even though it's hard, you're chasing something important. And even though I feel far away, I'm with you in spirit. Always. Yours, Alex. He folded the letter carefully, placed it in the envelope, and sent it off the next day. Waiting was hard. Weeks passed before Emma replied. But one evening a small envelope appeared in his mailbox and his hands trembled as he opened it. Inside was her handwriting, familiar and comforting. Dear Alex, your letter made me cry, but in a good way. I didn't realize how much I needed to hold something from you, something real. Reading your words on paper felt like sitting beside you again. I've been keeping your letter on my desk, and when things feel heavy, I read it. It makes me stronger. Thank you for reminding me that distance doesn't erase connection. Always, Emma. Alex read it over and over, his chest warm with hope. The letter was proof that even across miles humans could still reach each other in powerful ways. Screens were quick, but paper carried something different. Time, effort, presence. That night, Alex sat under the stars again, holding Emma's letter close. He thought about how humans had always done this, written letters across oceans, sent messages across centuries, spoken into the silence of space. Each act was the same, a spark of hope, carried into the unknown. And each time, that hope had found someone on the other side. He whispered to the night sky, "We're still connected, Emma. No distance can break that." The days that followed felt lighter. Alex kept writing letters, one each week, sometimes short, sometimes long, sometimes filled with little sketches or pressed leaves from the park. Emma began sending letters too, each one filled with her struggles, her victories, her daily life. Through those letters, Alex began to see her world, and she saw his. The distance was still there, but now it felt less like a wall and more like a bridge they were building together. Yet, in the quiet moments, Alex still felt the ache. He wished he could hear her laugh in real time, or walk beside her again. But he also knew something important now. Being human wasn't about erasing sadness. It was about carrying it, along with hope, and still choosing to keep moving forward. One evening, as Alex finished reading one of Emma's letters, he wrote in his journal, "Maybe this is humanity's gift. We don't let distance define us. We create meaning even when we're apart. And in doing so, we prove we are never truly alone." As he closed the journal and looked out at the stars, Alex realized something new. He no longer felt lost. The sadness was there, but hope was stronger. Emma's words had shown him that. And his own actions, his letters, his messages, his willingness to keep reaching, proved that he was, indeed, ready now, even if he hadn't known it before. The letters between Alex and Emma became a lifeline. Each envelope felt like a small treasure, carrying words that crossed the miles. For Alex, reading her handwriting was like hearing her voice again. For Emma, receiving his letters gave her comfort when the days in her new city felt heavy. Still, the distance weighed on Alex. Some evenings he would sit with her letter in one hand and his journal in the other, feeling the ache of wanting more. He missed her laughter, her presence, the way she made ordinary places feel alive. The letters were beautiful, but they were not the same as sitting together on the park bench or walking through the bookstore side by side. One night, Alex wrote, in his journal, "It hurts to care for someone who is far away, but maybe the hurt is proof of love. Humans feel pain because they value connection, and because they value it, they never stop reaching." He closed the journal and looked up at the stars. They were steady, eternal, watching over both him and Emma. He whispered softly, "I'll keep reaching no matter how far." The next day, Alex went to the bookstore. As he walked through the aisles, his eyes fell on a book of poetry. He opened it, and a line caught his attention. Distance is only space, the heart knows no map. He bought the book and decided to copy the line into his next letter for Emma. When her reply came weeks later, she wrote, "That line stayed with me, Alex. I keep repeating it to myself whenever I feel lonely. It reminds me that even though we are far apart, our hearts are still close." Her words gave him strength. They proved that even small things, a line of poetry, a simple message, could carry hope across distance. But then came a hard season. For nearly a month, Alex received no letters. He checked his mailbox every day, but it was always empty. Doubt whispered in his mind again. What if Emma was too busy? What if she had found new friends, a new life that no longer had space for him? The silence was heavier than before, because he had grown used to their steady rhythm. Without it, he felt adrift. Still, he refused to give up. He kept writing letters even when no reply came. Each letter began with the same words. "I don't know if this will reach you, but I want you to know you are not forgotten." Weeks later, just when hope began to dim, an envelope appeared. Alex tore it open, hands shaking. "Dear Alex, I'm so sorry for the silence. Life here became overwhelming and I didn't know how to put it into words. But your letters kept arriving, and each one reminded me that I wasn't alone. You didn't give up on me, even when I couldn't answer. That means more than I can ever say." Tears filled Alex's eyes. He read the letter again and again, letting her words sink deep. In that moment, he understood something powerful. Being human wasn't about never feeling lost. It was about continuing to reach, even when the other side was quiet. It was about holding on to hope, even in silence. That evening, Alex wrote in his journal, "Humans survive distance not because it is easy, but because they refuse to stop trying. Hope is stronger than silence." When he replied to Emma, he wrote, "I'll never give up on you. Even when it's hard, I'll keep sending hope your way." That's what it means to care. That's what it means to be human. Emma's next letter came sooner. She thanked him again and wrote, "You are my reminder of strength. When I feel like giving up, I think of you." Alex smiled as he read her words. The sadness was still there. He still longed for her presence, but now it lived beside something stronger. Hope. And hope was enough to keep going. As weeks passed, Alex began to see his own growth. He was no longer just waiting for Emma to fill the silence. He had become active in building the bridge between them, through letters, through messages, through the steady belief that distance could be endured. One evening, sitting under the stars, he whispered, "Maybe this is what being ready really means. Not ready for an easy road, but ready to carry both sadness and hope." He thought back to the night Emma had leaned close and spoken those words. "You're ready now." At last he was beginning to understand. He smiled softly to himself. Humans were fragile in many ways, but their hearts carried an unbreakable strength. They could feel sadness, yet still choose hope. They could live with distance, yet still choose connection. And that, Alex realized, was their greatest gift.